Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I haven't seen you in a while. I've been gone in Korea for about almost 3 months, I'd say. And it's certainly been that long since we've had a live class. So just first want to welcome everyone back. I see we already have over 100 people who have been waiting for this. So awesome. Thanks for coming. We have a few new announcements for today. I'll just get everyone, give everyone some time to kind of get settled in and make sure you have a notebook open, something to write with. Take note of our prerequisites because we're going to get started right at 2 o'clock, which is in about 15 minutes or so. So let me just check the chat and see who is joining us today. See, I got Arlie and Secretive in here as my moderators. Thank you for coming. Let's see. Something is different today. First of all, though, I need to check something. How is my audio? Because I couldn't check this by myself. Is the sound synced to my lips moving right now? Or is it really off, or is it close? Let me know. How does it look? Does it look like I'm talking, or does it look like I'm in an old action movie and my lips don't match? Okay, because I just eyeballed it. I just guessed. So it means I got lucky. Okay, yeah, I wasn't asking about the quality. I haven't changed my microphone. It's the same microphone I've been using now for over a year. But I did change something else. Does anyone notice? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter. I changed something today. Okay, seems to be synced. That's good. Okay, yeah, I changed something. I want to see if anyone can notice. Are you deep faking this whole class? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Nope, nothing like that. Not quite. No lighting, not green screen, not the background. Not a new hat. Not a new... Yeah, a bunch of people asking background. Well, background always changes. I always try to bring you to a new location whenever we do a live stream. That's not what changed. I don't know if anyone can notice it. Yes, Fix On got it. Camera. Or I'm actually, Danielle said it before, and Anna said it before. Okay, I guess a couple of people did say it, and I just missed them talking about it. Yes, finally I have upgraded our camera for our live classes to, right now I'm actually just using the, hold on one second, turn this off. Right now I'm just using the same camera that I use when I film my actual videos, so the quality should improve. Previously I was using a webcam forever since I started these live streams, but I'm no more webcam. We're upgrading this. We're gonna do things a little bit better. Every time I stream, I like to try to do things a little bit better than I did the week before. And since I've been gone for a while in Korea, I figured, now's the time to upgrade. So hopefully this will help make the text a little bit easier to read. It'll make the final quality a little bit clearer. When everything's said and done, it'll be a little bit higher quality, but I've still got some room for more improvements, but I just wanted to start with this. So hopefully today's looks better than it ever has before. Okay, so yeah, a bunch of people, I can see your pores now. Well, I'm not using any higher resolution than I was. It's the same resolution, but it's much better use of that resolution now. We're still in HD. And we will get started really soon. First of all, before we get started, I have some announcements to make. And before I have the announcements, or I guess my first announcement will be just thank you all so much for being members. I left to Korea the end of May, and I was positive that I would lose a significant number of members on my YouTube as well as on Patreon. I was positive that my channel growth would slow down because I wasn't constantly doing live streams. But no, actually, you guys you've stuck with me. In fact, I have pretty much the same amount of members as I did. Some people came and left, but pretty much about the same as before I left. And as well as Patreon, same thing, same story over there. So I just want to say thank you so much for not abandoning me when I took a three-month trip to Korea to film some videos. And I have filmed a lot of videos over there. I've started uploading them a little bit. First, I'm going to be uploading the collaborations I did because I don't want them to wait. I don't want them to have to wait too long before they can see their video. And after that, I have a lot of fun videos I filmed, not with other YouTubers, but just with other people doing various things. So I'm excited to share those with you. I think there's a lot of fun videos I made. So yeah, I'm excited to be uploading them. I was able to film, I guess, technically 22 new videos. So once every week, you'll get to see one more of those. But yeah, so I had a great trip to Korea, and now I am back. Now, after my trip to Korea, I felt it's too short. So I decided to come back out here to the wonderful city of Pohang, which is south of South Korea, kind of near Busan. And yeah, we're by the ocean here. It's just a wonderful view. I thought it would be a perfect place. You know, the Wi-Fi works great. Perfect place to do a live class. Yes. Okay. So check out the prerequisites. If you are a member of this channel, remember that you get access to worksheets as well as outlines for every live stream I've ever done. At least if there is a worksheet, not all of them have worksheets, but most of them do. This one does. You can get the worksheet right now through Patreon. So if you're a sorry, I said that wrong. Every Patreon member gets access to the worksheets and the outline. Every channel member gets access to watch some of my videos early. So specifically, you get to watch my abridged versions of these lessons early. That will be tonight. After this stream finishes, you can go onto my channel and you can rewatch this lesson. Maybe you missed it. Maybe you just want a refresher. You can watch a shorter version of it again, usually between 10 and 20 minutes, that has all the information that we did, minus the fluff, minus the music and the intro and the ending and all of that. And you can go through that the same day that it's released. And everyone else has to wait until typically Wednesday or Thursday of that week. So that's a benefit for members. Outlines will be posted on Patreon as soon as the stream is over. So that usually takes about 20-30 minutes after we've ended. So you can review this right here I'm using to teach. Actually, now with the quality is better, you could probably even read this. Anyway, yeah, those will also be on Patreon, so make sure to check those out if you are a Patreon member. Everyone on Patreon gets access to it. You don't have to give me tons of money to get it. It's simply something I give as a thank you to anyone who helps support me over there. For the live stream, though, today, as with every live stream, I also have behind the scenes going on 24/7 an active Discord channel. You can get a link to it in the description of this very video, or hopefully my bot will post a link unless it's still sleeping. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, some people are saying, okay, I can't read the paper. That's fine. It's actually not focused on this paper anyway, so it might not be legible unless I change the camera's focus, which I'm not going to do. So there's an active Discord. It's open 24/7. There are lots of members in there chatting about everything related to Korean and Korea, and sometimes just chatting amongst themselves. Make sure to join it and say hi. Also, I have some merchandise available if you want one more way to support me. You want to carry around a Go Billy Korean t-shirt. Go ahead. If I ever meet anyone wearing a Go Billy Korean shirt or something in public, I will take a picture with you. I haven't yet. I have run into fans in real life yet so far, but I haven't met anyone who's also wearing my stuff. So yeah. Anyway, let's see what else I need to announce before we can get started. I think that is about it. Oh, yes. And I thought, you know, I've been back. It's like some pounding. I don't know if someone's like folding a box or like just dropped something on the floor. Okay. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. Okay. I've been back now for 2 weeks from Korea, but I still have a bit of jet lag, actually. I feel most days I feel kind of like I feel tired throughout the whole day. It's weird. And I thought it would be gone by now, but I still kind of have it. So I thought it would be good to have some caffeine, right? To have an energy drink. And I thought, what better way to replenish my energy after this flight from Korea than a cool, refreshing can of kimchi energy drink? What do you all think? I think that sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's just open this. Oh, you can hear it. Is this sponsored? No. No, I wish. Actually, the company that makes this, I believe, is not too far from where I stay when I'm in Korea. If you work for this company, contact me. Maybe we can work out a sponsorship, but no, it's not sponsored. And if anyone's wondering about sponsored content on my channel, I've actually never done sponsored content. I've never gotten paid to say something before. So, yeah. Okay, I've first of all, first impressions. It says strawberry flavor. It does kind of smell like strawberries. It has a nice smell. I guess this is going to be kimchi though. It has a really light, like a strawberry, like a sweet strawberry flavor. It doesn't really taste much like, oh wait, I take it back. Yeah, that does kind of taste like kimchi. It's good. I like it. I have 2 cans that I bought because I was so curious about it. That is not bad. You get your kimchi and your energy drink in 1 can. That's much better than I expected. I thought it was going to taste gross because I actually tried, before I went to Korea, I tried a company in California makes a tungchimi, which is like another kind of kimchi, like anyway, it's another type of kimchi. They had a tungchimi soda. Or, let me see if I can find it. Oh, sorry, I meant to say tongchimi. It's kind of like cool kimchi. It's like white cubes. Anyway, tongchimi flavor, and it was disgusting. I couldn't even finish like 2 sips. I got half of my first sip, and I was like, and I tried to take a second. I couldn't do it. I was expecting that, but no, it's actually very drinkable. Okay. Yeah, commercial with Billy, exactly. It does sound gross. Yeah, it does sound gross. It doesn't taste like strong kimchi, so I think that's why it tastes okay. It just has kimchi on the label. But really, the kimchi flavor is so light, and the strawberry flavor is much more powerful. And you know, kimchi can have a fruity flavor if you make it with extra, for example, some people put pears, which is a really common ingredient. The Asian pears, so what you would know as pe in Korean. They're very large and they're crisp and juicy, and they have a very good flavor, like very refreshing, cool flavor. So if you were to simply add a lot of those into your kimchi, well, now you have sweet pear kimchi pretty much. So it's kind of like they did that. Like they just added so many strawberries that it's still technically kimchi, but it's like mostly strawberry flavor. And that's definitely carbonated. All these like bubbles coming up to my head. Okay. We still have about 4 minutes left, so welcome. We'll get started really soon. Again, look over the prerequisites. Before you do this lesson today, you want to be familiar with, at the very least, the particle 도. So if I were to say something like 저도 좋아해요 or 나도 좋아해, you should be able to understand that. You should know what that 도 does to either 나 or 저 or other particles as well. For example, you might say, if I were to say, give it to, say it to him, literally tell him. 그 사람, that person, 그 사람에게 말하세요. So say it to him. You should be able to understand if I were to switch it up and say something like 그 사람에게도 말하세요. So also say it to him, literally. So just tell him to, or tell that person. Although this is a beginning lesson, if you're familiar with my live streams, I never leave it at that. I always go a step further. So we're going to not only learn how this form is used, but we're going to learn in depth about it. We're going to compare this form to another grammar form we learned previously, ina, and we're going to learn 2 separate uses of this form, which are, although it seems to be the same form, it's slightly different usage. And for that, I would say you should really be more at the intermediate level to do that part of the lesson. So although, yes, this is a beginner lesson, if you're intermediate, you are more than welcome. You're going to learn something new today. I promise you that. Doesn't matter if you think, I already know this form, Billy, I've heard it before a bunch of times. Unless you're already advanced, you probably don't know what we're going to talk about today. So I guarantee you there will be something new for you in today's lesson. And that's how I always do it. There's always extra information above and beyond what the topic is. Even when we do advanced lessons, sometimes there will be something in there that beginners can follow along, even if the lesson's not made for beginners. I also have some plain barley tea. Okay. All right. So that is everything I need to announce before we start. We'll start in just a minute. Hey, Anselmida. Pear kimchi, okay. Strawberry kimchi, no. Yeah, it tastes okay though. I mean, yeah, it's not too far-fetched. It's not too bad. Oh, we got our first donation. Cheryl, thank you. Welcome back, Billy. Good to have your live stream lessons again. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate it. I'm going to do 10 dabs for Cheryl's $10 donation. Thank you. I have bomb tea. Interesting. Was it spicy? That's a good question. No, it actually is not spicy at all. It is sweet. And when you hear kimchi, there is no such thing as just kimchi. Like it's not one food item. It's a category of foods. For example, if I were to say pizza or hamburger, if you say hamburger, does it mean it has to be beef, it has to be cheese, lettuce, tomato, right? There is like a classic hamburger you might think of most of the time, but there can be, vegan hamburgers, there can be chicken hamburgers, pork hamburgers, there can be hamburgers with 3 buns, right? Or, double cheese or blue cheese or hamburgers with fruit on them. Pineapple and avocado is really good. Bacon, you can have all these different types of hamburgers, just like you can have all these different types of kimchi. And in fact, in kimchi, it's even more varied because there will be completely different. It'll look completely different, but it can still technically be kimchi. It's really any of that sort of fermented vegetable. And some of them are spicy, some of them are sweet, some of them are like neutral, like more watery. There are some that are served not fermented, actually, that are going to be fermented, but they're not yet, like mak kimchi. Or like they have kimchi that's like cut, right, that you just cut up and make it really quick. Kimchi that you serve as soon as you make it and eat it together with other foods. There's kimchi that is cut really thin. There's kimchi that's made of like radish that has like the radish stem on it too. There is kimchi that is left to be too old, so it's used in soup. There's kimchi that is fermented longer and gets more sour. There's all sorts of varieties of it. So yeah, it's more of a category than a single food. If someone says kimchi is spicy, they're typically talking about the one specific type of kimchi that is spicy, the red kind that you're most familiar with, but that is definitely not the only kind of kimchi out there. Okay, before we make this lesson all about kimchi, let's get started with our lesson. Okay, so we're going to be learning today, oops, let me write this better. We're going to be learning about the form irato. I just put marker on my, got marker on my microphone. Oh, it's cool, it rubs off. Okay, no problem. No harm, no foul. And the way it works in place of a marker. So if you're using something like cho for I, you wouldn't say cho는 irado or anything like that. It replaces whatever marker was already in there. So the topic marker, subject marker, or object marker, it gets replaced. And the way it works is you'll take irado, you'll put, okay, so let me say that again. The way that it works is you'll take a noun and you'll attach irado to the end of it. Now it'll be irado if the noun ends in a consonant. I'm just going to write C. Or it'll just be rado if the noun ends in a vowel. So if you're using the if it ends in a vowel. So if you're using the noun 집, which ends in a consonant, it would be 이라, 이라도. Or if you're using 학교, which ends in a vowel, it would just be 나도, like that. Okay, so what is it? What is this particle? It's actually not very special, I'll say. It doesn't come from like some complicated background origin. It really is just 이다, to be. The regular verb to be, which becomes, 입니다, 이에요, all of that stuff. Plus 도. Why does it become 이라도? Well, that's in older Korean, this form 이다 actually changed into 이라. So you would get other forms that would have to do with this. The same thing happens with 아니다, can become 아니라도. We can talk about that a little later. But pretty much all you need to know is it comes from 이다 and 도. So literally, even if a noun is something. So if we make the noun, for example, school, even if it's school, even if it's 집, a house, that's literally all this means. 이다 plus 도. And that's also the same reason why this goes away when the noun ends in a vowel. Pretty simple. Like I said, the actual reason why it becomes la, I don't want to bore you with it. There is another, originally this 이다 does become 이라, so you have another form like 이라서. If you know about the 서 form, also can become 이라서 or 이어서. It's the exact same thing, but 이라서 is typically tends to get used a little more often. It's the original form of this changing into when it conjugates. It's not really used anymore, but it's the original way it would change. But in order to give you any information beyond that, I would check more sources before I go into more detail than that. But that's the basic version of it. So that's all it is. So even if something is a certain way. However, I just want to make a note. This is not the same thing as saying 더라도. So 더라도, I did a previous live stream about. This also means even if it is something. Although since it uses 더, it means like even if it were something. And this is used for a hypothetical situation that you don't think has any possibility of happening. So this is a completely different form. If you'd like to learn about 더라도, check out my live stream playlist. There is a video on my channel where you can learn about that. So we're not going to be covering that today. Let's check the time. Okay. So when is this form used? So I said it means even if something is. Well, when is this form used? Well, it's used whenever the speaker is choosing something. So if you're making a choice and you want to say, well, even that is okay. Even pizza sounds good, right? Even a book would be a good idea to read. Maybe they don't have pork at the store, but even beef is okay. It's used when you're making a choice. But I wanted to write this down first before I said it all. It's not what they wanted the most. So you're saying even something, but it's not what I wanted the most. And I'll show you how that works in a second. It'll make more sense once we see it used in a sentence. So you're choosing, but it's not really what you wanted the most. Instead, it's something else that you can pick. Something else among the options that you have. It's not your favorite, but you'll say, even this one, literally. So although I said it means even, there are better ways we can translate this in most sentences. One of them is at least. Another is or something. So let me give you an example. I'm hungry. So your mom comes and says, here, even this would be okay for you to eat. At least eat this. At least try a slice of pizza. You know, I know we don't have the Pokemon shaped chicken nuggets you wanted, but at least have a piece of pizza, right? It's not what you wanted the most, but it's something else that you can do among the options that you have. Usually it'll be like something, the best you can do with what you have. Maybe you'd say, oh man, I'm so bored. I should at least watch a movie. I have free time. I should at least watch a movie or something. It's not what I really wanted to do. Maybe I wanted to meet my friend, but my friend canceled on me. So I have all this free time and I'm bored. I guess I should watch a movie at least. I guess I should watch a movie or something. It's not what I really wanted. It's not what I wanted the most, but it's something else I can do that is, you know, it's okay. It's not bad. It's favorable to me, even if it's not my best option. At least I should watch a movie or something. Or you go to the grocery store and you were planning to buy a bunch of beef to make hamburgers. And you notice the beef price is 3 times what it normally is. It's there's a shortage at your store, so it's really expensive. And you're thinking, I guess I can at least get pork because beef's too expensive. Maybe I'll just get pork or something. Like it's still something you want to get. If it wasn't, you just wouldn't buy it. But you're saying, at least I should get, you know, even pork would be okay in this situation. At least pork would be okay. In that sort of sense. So you're using it to make a choice. You're marking a noun. Although it's not what you wanted the most, it's still something else that you can choose. And when we do a few more sentences, this will sound a little bit more clear. Okay. So let's do an example sentence. How's everyone following? I'm going to write up the sentence and then I'm going to check the chat to see how everyone's following along. Someone said my sound is off. I asked in the beginning if the sound is synced. If the sound is still off, let me know. I can try to adjust it a little further. Okay. Just going to write this up and check the chat. Okay. It's possible one person or two people could have not really good sound, depending on their computer. One thing I know is that if I use sometimes Bluetooth headphones, they're really cheap and the sound won't sync very well. So it'll be a slightly off with what the person's saying, but then when I plug in directly, it'll be perfect. So it could be that. Anyway, let me know if there are any problems and I can always adjust them. No problem. Oh, is Korean Dream here? Did I miss that? I saw someone say hi, but I don't see them in the chat. Oh, there we go. 잘 들려요. Okay, cool. Hey, Korean Dream. All right. Here's our first sentence. 이거. So this, 이것, this thing, this. 이거라도 드세요. 드세요 is just the honorific version of eat. So 먹어요. Eat this. So eat this. Literally. Even this. You know, this. Even this. Literally. But you don't really need to think of it literally. I always just include literal examples because there are some people who really like to know the in-depth meaning of grammar forms when I explain them. So eat at least this. Or you can think of it like eat this or something, but like at least something like this. So, for example, if your friend is like, I guess this wouldn't be your friend because it's 드세요. Okay, oh, I got a donation. Hey, Nat, thank you. Three dabs. Thank you, Nat. So someone's asking you for food, but you don't have any food. So you can say, But you do have like a bag of Haribo gummy bears or something like that. So you can hand these to them and say, 이거라도 드세요. Like, here, eat, at least have this. Like, maybe you don't want this. I know this isn't what you want to eat, right? If you're hungry, you probably don't feel hungry for Haribo gummy bears. You probably feel hungry for real food. But at least, have this or something. And then maybe they'll take them, or maybe they'll think, good idea. I actually have a breakfast bar in my bag. It's not food, but it's not like a meal, but it's a snack. It'll work. 이거라도 드세요. So at the very least, eat this or something. So I think the best way to translate this will often be at least. Because at least kind of conveys like, if you're not going to have anything else, or if I'm not going to have anything else, at the very least, this. Oh, Amanda, you can dab. Of course I'm going to dab. Do I have permission to dab? Permission to dab. That's going to be it's going to be BTS's next hit, I swear. Permission to dab. And then I'll get $100 royalty when they release that sound. Thank you, Amanda. $20 dabs. Hey, Kate. Thank you, Kate. I just finished dab. We get 5 more dabs. Awesome. Once again, thank you. I was able to upgrade my studio this year, and of course, to upgrade the equipment, thanks to, of course, all of your support, all of your donations. Watching my videos, watching ads on my videos like normal when you share my videos, Patreon members, YouTube members, all of that is what allows me to upgrade, to keep doing better instead of just staying stagnant and doing the same thing forever. I'm always able to get new stuff and try to make the experience better. So that's thanks mostly to all of you watching. Okay, let's do the next example. I said nest example. Next example. Actually, let's write this a little bit smaller so I can see it. Hey, Brandon. Perfect timing with the donation. This is exactly when I would stop and let everyone take a look at the sentence before I break it down. Brandon, I'm going to need some more space for my donation bar. Put this down here for now. Don't spend this on dabs. Put it in the new headphones budget. Yeah, headphones are, I use, these are the ones I use. I'm not going to focus the cameras. You can't really see them. But they were the cheapest that I could get that had decent reviews. But they work, is what I edit all my videos with. I have better ones I use on my laptop. But those are separate. I would have to keep syncing those. So I just keep them on my laptop. Thank you. I'm still going to do dabs because I actually get them wholesale. So I don't have to pay full price for dabs. So that allows me to give something back when I get donations. Thank you. Check out the sentence really quick. I'm going to start explaining it. 너무 심심해서 책이라도 봐야겠어요. 너무 심심해서 책이라도 봐야겠어요. Okay. 너무, too much. Too. Now, 너무 doesn't mean too much as in like too much quantity. It just means too adverb. So you would say too much, in this case, 심심하다, to be bored. So too bored. So I'm so bored that 책, a book. 책이라도, literally, even a book. At least a book. A book or something. But at least something like a book. That sort of feeling. 봐야겠어요. Literally, 보다. I have to see. 봐야 하다. 봐야 하겠어요. This is you'll see this grammar form. It's just shortened for, it's this 야겠어요 or 야겠다 is just shortened for 야하겠어요 or 돼, if you want to think of it like that. 봐야 하겠어요. I'm going to have to. Gotta or gonna have to, that sort of meaning. I better read a book. I should. I have to. I better read a book or something. I'm just too bored. 너무 심심해서 책이라도 봐야겠어요. I'm so bored. I better read a book or something. That's what we have. And when I'm teaching you that this can mean literally even, or at least, or something, I don't want you to focus on those words so much. Because if you focus on those words, you can get confused when you're trying to translate something later for yourself. You'll be confused wondering, well, how is it different from this word, which can also translate as or something? Or how is it different than this? I want you to focus on that feeling that this has. So once again, the feeling of 이라도. At least that. You know that feeling I'm talking about. We have that in English, you know. I'm so bored, I should at least look at a book. At least. You know, that kind of, combined with that intonation, that feeling you get when you're saying, oh, well, at least that. That sort of feeling is what this form conveys. Okay. I'm so bored, the least I could do is read this book. The least I could do is different meaning than at least. The least I could do means I feel obligated to do a lot more, but the least I could do, like at least I need to do this. It's when you feel guilty about something. That's a different form. Like, that's why I say don't focus on the literal, don't focus on the words that are in this when you translate to English. Focus on the feeling. It's not the least of I can do. It's at least this. At least noun. Okay. 너무 심심해서 책이라도 봐야겠어요. I'm so bored. I should at least read a book or something. That means you didn't really want to read a book if you could pick among anything to do in the world. You probably wouldn't pick reading a book. That's what the person's saying. But among the options that you can do right now, that would be the most preferable. At least I should read a book. That sort of meaning. Okay. Next sentence. 소고기, beef. 소고기가 비싸면. So let's actually write this all out. Okay, take a moment to look at the sentence, then we'll talk about what it means. Someone asked, is 책 보다 more natural than 읽다? 책을 읽다, to read a book. 책을 보다, to read a book. If you're just thinking which one means to read a book, you can use either. 보다 is going to be more commonly used, but 읽다 is not unnatural. They're both fine. Mera Mimi, you're on the right track. Okay, you've had a second to look this over. 소고기, beef, literally, 소, cow, 고기, meat, cow meat. Although we don't say cow meat. Gonna get some pig meat. Cook up some pig meat for breakfast. Yeah, pork. 소고기가 비싸면. So if beef is expensive, then 돼지고기, pig meat. So pork. 돼지고기라도 사주세요. So if beef is expensive, then at least buy me some pork. Or if beef's expensive, buy me some pork or something. Like, for example, pork would be good, but, you know, at least something like that is what it means. This doesn't mean if they don't have beef, only buy pork or nothing else. It doesn't mean that. It's like, at least get me some pork, you know. Maybe they have something else kind of that's good, but I'd prefer pork among the options that I have left. For example, pork or something, you know, if they don't have beef. It doesn't mean buy them Haribo gummy bears. Maybe if they don't have beef and they don't have pork, well, maybe if they're both expensive, then you come home with chicken or something. That might be okay. But what they're asking is like, at least get me some pork if they don't have beef. Just something, something similar. 소고기가 비싸면 돼지고기라도 사주세요. My tongue always gets twisted when I try to read something at an unnatural pace from what I would read it myself. So I have to get kind of back in that mood, back in the groove of doing that for my classes. I'm supposed to be reading them at more of a slower pace. 소고기가 비싸면, if beef's expensive, 돼지고기라도, at least pork, 사주세요. Please buy me at least pork if beef is expensive. Okay, one more sentence with this form, and then we're going to go on to intermediate stuff. Okay. 우산이 없으니 모자라도 써야겠어요. 우산. Look at this for a second. Did someone give a good example? Oh, I see. Okay, just reading the chat here. Ashley asked, what did 사 do? 사 is just from the verb 사다, to purchase, to buy. 사주세요, so please buy. Yeah, we're going to go up to a little bit intermediate stuff. Not high intermediate, but like, technically it's like low intermediate stuff after this. Or maybe I'll say high beginner. High beginner is probably more fair. Let's update that. High beginner. High beginner. Okay. 우산이 없으니 모자라도 써야겠어요. 우산, umbrella. 없다, to not have. So 없으니 is pretty much equivalent to 없으니까. So because I don't have an umbrella, so because of that, 모자, a hat. 모자라도, at least a hat or something. 써야겠어요. Again, we have 야겠어요 form, which is just a shortened colloquial version of 써야하겠어요. I will have to, I should, I better, I need to, that sort of meaning. 쓰다, to use. So I should use I better use at least a hat. I better wear. Literally, 쓰다 is to use, but with hats or things you put on your face, you can translate it as to wear. So I better wear like a hat or something, at least a hat, because I don't have an umbrella. 우산이 없으니 모자라도 써야겠어요. So I better wear a hat at least because I don't have an umbrella. So I don't have an umbrella, so I better at least wear a hat, right? If you're going outside and it starts raining, you could be like, if you walk outside and you see rain, 우산이 없으니 모자라도 써야겠어요. Now you wouldn't say this to yourself because it's polite. You could say this to someone else who's with you. Like, I don't have an umbrella, so I better at least wear a hat. Okay. I'm going to leave this on the board for just a few seconds. I'm already behind on the time, but that always happens. I almost never keep it within the exact time that I schedule. I feel the energy of the kimchi energy drink. It's funny. It so feels like I'm sponsored by them, but I really wish I was sponsored by them. It's just really good. Okay. Sounds so sad wearing a hat because I don't have an umbrella. Yeah, if you visit California, a lot of people here just don't care. You'll commonly see people just walking outside getting hit by the rain. it's not that they want to get hit by the rain. It's just, it's too inconvenient to carry around an umbrella all the time. You just forget. You never know when it's going to rain. So you're just like, whatever. And people just don't care so much, I guess. Maybe also because we drive most of the time everywhere we go. So when it starts raining, you're like, oh, if you have an umbrella, great, you use it. If you don't have an umbrella, you're like, meh, I got to get from here to here. I guess I'll just run. Or I guess I'll just put my hoodie, like if I have a hoodie, I'll just put it up. Or if I don't have a hoodie, I'll just kind of like do this and walk through the rain. Or I'll just kind of walk and pretend I don't care. Like you'll see a lot of people just not using umbrellas when it's raining here. Okay. 우산이 없으니 모자라도 써야겠어요. So I better at least put on a hat because I don't have an umbrella. Okay, so that is the most basic usage. That's the most basic way to use irado, but that's not the only usage. It actually has one more completely different usage, which we're going to learn about in a second. But first, that was our beginning part. That was our beginner level part of this lesson. Now let's move up to maybe high beginner, I guess. And let's learn a little bit more about this form. Because we actually only scratched the surface. There's a little bit more that you need to know. So I said that it can be used in place of a marker after a noun plus irado, right? Well, noun isn't the only place you can use this particle. Oh, Mary. Hey, Mary. Thank you, Mary. That's very nice of you. You got the hat emoticon doing this. Like that. Thank you. Hopefully everyone, I'm not sure if everyone was here when I first started the stream. If you haven't noticed, I got a new camera. So hopefully the quality is better. Hopefully you can still see everything nice and clearly. I don't know why that thing's, might have to angle that. Okay, I'll have to change the angle of that next time. We'll get it better next time. For right now, this is the best we can do. Just focus there. Okay. So yeah, although I said it's used after nouns, you can actually use this in a lot of other places too. Not the purple one. Blue one. Here we go. It can also be used after adverbs. Particles. And even some verb endings. Basically, what I want you to know is that this form is very versatile. It's not only used after a noun. So if you were to use it after an adverb, can you think of an example in English or Korean if you want, using irado, what we've just learned, with an adverb or with a particle or maybe with a verb ending? Can you think of any? I'll give you a minute, 1 minute. Start the stopwatch now. See if there's anything you can think of. Now the angle is, yeah, that's something that I wasn't able to do with the other camera, is get an angle at the same level as my eyes. It was always much higher than me because if it was the same angle as my eyes, you would see like my ceiling fan and like everything. It didn't work. But this camera is much better, so. 언제 technically is a noun, so that would work. And small, we're actually going to be learning about that. I'm not sure if you posted that as like you see the future, or if you're curious about that. That's a different part of the usage, which we're going to learn next. Actually, it's the next part of this lesson. How are you doing the background? Well, I just have to travel. Today I traveled to the beautiful city of Pohang. And you have to hope the Wi-Fi works. That's how you do the backgrounds. Anselmida. Nice. Summer. Nice. It could work. 천천히라도. It could work. I could see a situation where you could say that. 점심에라도 만날까? Yeah, should we meet at least at lunch then? Okay, it could work. Sure. 수영하는 것이라도 운동해요. That wouldn't work because 운동해요 means like you're exercising. So you're exercising at least swimming is what it would sound like. I am exercising at least swimming. You could say if you remove 운동, so not I am exercising, but I am just saying I am at least swimming, then that could work. But because you included 운동 in there, it adds the meaning of I am exercising at least swimming, which doesn't logically flow. I use my black hole eraser to teleport. That's right, yeah. This black hole eraser right here. At least do it faster. Yeah, that could work. At least do it fast or more fast or more fast, faster. 운동으로 수영이라도 해요. Yeah? I was going to say perfect sentence and then I saw it's a Korean dream. I'm like, yeah, she's Korean. So I would hope she has a perfect sentence. Very good example. 운동으로. So for your exercise or for exercising, 수영이라도 해요? Do you do like swimming or something for your exercise? Okay. That would still be though as a noun. But we have a lot of good examples here. So this can be used not just after nouns, but also after adverbs, particles, and sometimes verb endings. Let me give you some common examples. Well, actually, these aren't really common examples. These are just, you can just write these down. Write these down and think about them in your own time. I just want to give you some examples of how you might see it. You could see it with 에게 or 에게서 라도. So even or at least to that person or at least from that person. So maybe you could say, well, at least tell your brother. 에게라도 말해보세요. At least tell your brother. That sort of meaning. In the same way, it can also be used with ante. So the same thing as 에게, pretty much. 안테서라도. You can see it with 에 as someone used. 점심에라도 만날까? Like, should we at least meet at? Or in the same way, you can also use it with 에서. So you can use it with 에라도 or 서 or 에서라도. You might see it with 만, like only, at least only that. So in which case it would become 만이라도, not 이라도만. So 만이라도. You can use it with from, so at least from there. Now these might be a little bit less common. You'd have to have a specific case to use them. 으로, 라도. So that would be 으로, like using something as, or maybe toward, like toward somewhere. At least 으로. And then 하고, 하고, 라도. That's the same as like with, at least with. Yeah, these are some of the most common ones you'll see. There are more. Just kind of write these down, be aware of them. We unfortunately don't have enough time to do examples with every single one of these forms, but I do have 2 examples I can give you. The important thing, and this is why I told you to focus on the feeling and not the literal translation, because that feeling is what you can internalize to help understand when you see this form used with other particles or other words that you might not have expected them to be used with. At least you can still get that feeling. It means like, at least that, at least that, at the least, that sort of meaning. Okay. I'm going to write this down, give you a second. Take a second to read it. If you want, you can try to translate it, but without any other context, it might be tricky to translate this. No, not Nat Rose. It's not at least, it's not rating. Remember, this is at least something. At least comes after something. I guess you could say 비라도 안 오고. Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, I take it back. You could still do that. What's Andy Samberg doing teaching Korean? I get a lot of that. I don't see Andy Samberg. I kind of see Charlie Puth a little bit, but also I disagree with both of them. But I hear it so much that there must be some truth to it. Some people see it. Most people don't. Maybe I gotta wear Andy Samberg, like the what's his name? I know it's JP, but I can't remember his title. Anyway, yeah, the detective, whatever. I should probably wear like a cosplay of him and do a live stream once. That would be toy. At least dress comfortably at home. Yeah, at least dress comfortably. Peralta, that's right. Jake Peralta. At least at home I can dress comfortably. Yeah. That's right. Is it Peralta or Peralta? I've only seen like 2 episodes of that show. Nice. Okay. 집에서. So at home. 라도. At least when you're at home. 편하게. 편하다 means to be comfortable. So 편하게, comfortably. 입다 is to wear or to dress. So at least dress comfortably when you're at home is how we translate it. But literally it means dress comfortably at least when you're at home. You know, even if you can't dress comfortably when you're at the office, when you're meeting friends, when you're doing this or that, at least when you're at home, 편하게 입어요. 집에서라도 편하게 입어요. So at least dress comfortably when you're at home. Okay, I have one more sentence example. This one is using 로, 라도. I'm sure a lot of you know this example. I'm sure you already have a usage for this example once you read it. Read it. Think about it for a second. Let me know what you think. Yeah, it's not that I don't want to watch the show. It's that I don't have time to watch shows. I'm just too busy, especially lately after coming back from Korea. Every day I'll be editing. So edit, next day edit, next day edit, next day edit, then prepare for a live stream, edit, do the live stream, edit the live stream, edit other videos. So until I finished editing most of the videos I shot while I was in Korea, it's going to be, I'm not going to have any free time. Okay. 과외. 과외 is like a private class. Like tutoring, kind of like that. 과외를 할 수 없으면. So if you're unable to, if you can't do private lessons, if you can't take private classes, YouTube. So YouTube. 로. Using YouTube or on YouTube or with YouTube, however you want to think about it. We did a lesson about this previously. 유튜브로라도. So at least using YouTube. 공부해 보세요. So try studying at least with YouTube if you're not able to take private lessons. So if you can't take private class, at least study with YouTube. That sort of meaning. 과외를 할 수 없으면 유튜브로라도 공부해 보세요. 과외를 할 수 없으면 유튜브로라도 공부해 보세요. So at least study with YouTube or something if you're not able to take classes. You read it as quiet. If you're not able to have fruit, learn from YouTube. If you can't have fruit, a lot of bad things will happen. You need your fruit. We got some good strawberries from the store the other day. I had some really good. So I took my mom out to lunch last week to say thanks because she drove me to the airport and picked me up. And it's not, it's always a pain to have to drive into the airport and everything. So just as to say thanks, she saved us money, she saved us time and stress. I took her out to lunch and they had this really good like fruit plate that had like fruit and nuts and cheese and all that stuff on it, and it had this like, it had figs, which are really good, and fig jam. It was that fig jam. That was That was my jam. That was so good. It was just incredible. I was like, oh wow, I never tried fig jam before. So yeah. Anyway, it's kwawe, not kwae. Someone asked, what is this, Umyan? I recommend watching my live stream about how to say if and when, and that'll explain it. Hey, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate it. You sent me the you are amazing GIF. You're breathtaking. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Let's do 20 dabs here. Whew. It's exercise. I haven't done dabs in a while, so it's like exercise for me. Thank you once again. Lajimo Laja, please watch my live stream about how to say to try. To try. I have a live stream about that, and that's where you can learn how to use it. I also have other videos about if you search he 보다, to try, or to try 보다, you'll see how to do it. Yes, this is the high beginner part of the lesson. We're not intermediate yet. I almost said intermediate, but I realized the sentences themselves are still beginner. Just the usage is a little bit less common. Oh, Hanmi. Hanmi. Thank you. Thank you, Hanmi. Hanmi. Very nice of you, Hanmi. Let's do a 10 dabs. You sent me the dog, the happy dog animation. Thank you. Oh, and Charlotte. Do you still have the stars? Do I still have the stars? Ha! Of course I have the stars. All you had to do was ask. Charlotte. Thank you, Charlotte. My arm's getting tired here. 20 dabs. Thank you once again. Oh, and another small donation from Zosia Victor. I'm going to guess it's pronounced like that. I'm not going to ask for clarification. I'm just going to assume that's how you pronounce it. Zosia. I don't know what currency that is. PLN. I don't know what PLN. Hold on. PLN currency is Poland. Okay, so it's like $1. Thank you. And then Sophia. Sophia, thank you. Except you broke my light board. I have to reset it. 1 second, and then I'll do your dabs. Sometimes if multiple donations come in at once, it breaks the board. Okay. These are for Sophia. Okay. Thank you. That was a lot of people. Thank you again to everyone who donates, who supports this stream so I can keep doing it every week. I appreciate it. Okay, back to the lesson. 과외를 할 수 없으면, so if you're not able to do private classes, 유튜브로라도 공부해 보세요. At least try to study using YouTube. So literally, even YouTube, even YouTube, try to study with that. Literally. Or try to study with at least YouTube, or try to study with YouTube or something. These are all ways that you could translate it that would all work. Gotta make sure I don't erase that. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. So it can also be used with verb endings. However, when I had gotten a sentence for using it with a verb ending, it was, I think it was just this whole form, like something 해서라도. So even by doing something can cause something, but that would have been a little bit too advanced for this section, so I left it off. I think I put one in the worksheet though, so check out the worksheet, and you should be able to practice one with a verb ending in there as well. But yeah, it can be used in a lot of different places. Just remember that if you use it with a marker, it always replaces the marker. Not a particle though, but a marker. So the topic, subject, or object markers will get replaced by this 100% of the time. You'll never use them together. Oh, Deidre, Faye, McKellar, Price. You can't have 4 names. How do you have 4 names? Deidre. How do I say that? Deidre. Okay, it's Deidre. The long E. Deidre. Thank you, Deidre. Anytime I see your name, it's going to be Deidre, unless you say otherwise. Unless you don't like that, then I can change it to something else. And Tanya. Hey, Tanya. I haven't seen you in a while. I've been gone for 3 months in Korea. Nice to see some familiar faces again. Getting sweaty here. Thank you, Tanya. Very nice of you. And once again, my board broke. Imaginary doodles. Imaginary doodles. I'm going to write imaginary. $5 for 5 dabs. And then, whoa, Alex. What is that currency? It's like a D that's slashed out. What is that? What is that currency? Does anyone know what that currency is? Oh, what is this? Currency. It is Philippine peso. It's about $1. Okay. I guess so. I don't know. I think it's peso. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So back to the lesson. I wish I was there for your live streams in Korea. I try not to miss any of them. Yeah, it's okay. I know that the timing wasn't too great, but I'll do more in the future. All right. So we're not done though. There is another common situation where you'll see irado used, and that is after a question word. What is a question word? Well, that's words that are used to help make questions. Words such as amu, so like any, 누구, like who, what, 무슨, what specifically, 어느, like which. If you want a really quick way to learn how this is used with question words, just think of it as the same meaning as 이든지. It works the same way as 이든지. Now, I will say that the literal meaning is different than 든지, but the way that it works is similar. Let me give you an example sentence. You'll see, you might recognize it. If you don't recognize 든지, you might recognize it when I give you an example sentence. 정말 아무라도. So here we have 아무, so our question word. 상관없어요. 정말, really? 아무, anyone. 아무라도 상관없어요. 상관없다, to not matter. Does it really not matter? Literally, even if it's anyone. Literally, even if it's anyone. Or you could think of it as anyone, at least anyone, or anyone or something. But here it actually makes more literal sense when you think about it as meaning even anyone. So does it really not matter, even anyone? Literally. More naturally, does it really not matter who? It really doesn't matter who? As in, like, even anyone is okay? Really? Anyone's okay? It doesn't matter who? You can think of this as meaning something like 누구든지. 정말 누구든지 상관없어요. It really doesn't matter. Literally, even if it's whoever it is. So if you already know these words, there's like 누구든지, 뭐든지, 어디든지, 언제든지, whenever, whoever, wherever, those types of words. These can also be written in this sort of way. Now, the literal meaning is different. This is literally even if it's anyone. So really, even anyone is okay. But you can think of it in usage similarly. If it helps you to understand the usage, you can think of it kind of similar to these words. So, anyone, anywhere, anytime, anything, like, any of those types of words. 정말 아무라도 상관없어요. Does it really not matter who? Does it really not matter even if it's anyone? Or does it really not matter who? If you want to translate it like that. Let's do another one. 뭐라도. So literally, even something or even anything. Now, if you're not sure how this means anything, I did a live stream about how to say anything, anyone, anytime, like those types of words. It's the lesson I would have done about 뭐든지, 언제든지. I think it's in there, unless I did it in the lesson about, no. I did it in the different lesson. It was the lesson about 뭔가 and 어딘가, 언젠가. These are different, not the same. In the lesson where I taught about these types of words, I did a live stream. I also taught about how the original versions, 뭐, 어디, 언제, have the same meaning as their 은가 versions. So 뭐 has the same meaning as 뭔가 if you just change the intonation. I talk about that in the lesson. So watch that if you don't know. But 뭐 can also mean something or anything, whatever. So 뭐, 나도. So even something or even anything in that sort of sense. And I'll show you how it works. 필요하다 is to need something. So something is to be necessary. 필요한 게 있으면 알려주세요. Okay. 뭐라도 필요한 게 있으면 알려주세요. So if there is something, 게 means 것이. So 것 plus the subject marker 이, 게. 필요하다 is to be necessary. So if we just look at this part, if there is something that is necessary, that's how you'd say if you need something. If you need something, 뭐라도, even if it's anything, even if, whatever it is, in that sort of sense. So even anything, in English we would just say anything. If you need anything, 알려주세요, please let me know. 알려주다, to inform, to tell, to let someone know. Please let me know if there's anything you need. As in, if there's anything you need. If there's even something at all, even something, let me know. If there's anything you need, let me know. 뭐라도 필요한 게 있으면 알려주세요. 뭐라도 필요한 게 있으면 알려주세요. Now, I wanted to do more examples of this, but if you want some more, there are a few more examples in the worksheet for today's lesson. So please check that out if you're ready. This is more of an intermediate usage because I think beginners, before they learn 뭐라도, they would learn like 뭐든지 or 뭔가, something like that. 뭔가 필요한 게 있으면, if there's something that you need, or 뭐든지 필요한 게, if there's like something that you, still more natural to use this. You might learn 뭔가 first, like if there's something that you need. But if you want to say, if there's anything that you need, you would use 뭐라도. Even anything. What is that currency? Today is like Billy plays Guess the Currency. Hold on. Let me check. Let me check this currency. Shabunam. What is this? Rupee. Rupee. Okay. 60 rupees. That's like $1. Cool. Thank you. I'll write it up. Shabu. Shabunim. Give you one. Okay. Oh. Indian rupee. I'm losing space. Maybe I should start just writing the ones that are like over $5 so I don't run out of space. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It hasn't ever been it hasn't ever gotten that far though before that I've needed to do that. But yeah, I'm also learning learning different currency signs today as well. Okay. 뭐라도 필요한 게 있으면 알려주세요. Again, the best way to learn this type of stuff isn't only through watching lessons about it. It's through getting a lot of real world exposure, hearing it used a lot over and over again. That's the kind of thing that'll help you. I kind of like this. I'm glad I have another can. Okay. Now let's go up to intermediate again. Back to our form. There are actually two uses for this irado form. The first one I already explained. That is the one where I said it can be used to mean like even or at least or something. But there's another irado form. In fact, I would say this form is actually, it has a different origin than the other one, irado. Oh, the first another member. Hope. Thank you, Hope, for the $5 donation. Doing like a weird dab because I'm holding my lesson paper. Thank you, Hope. Appreciate that. And Lorenzo, we have a new member. Membership is $5 in the US, so I'm going to do 5 dabs. Welcome, Lorenzo. Okay, I think that's good. So, irado. This is a different irado. This one's not just ida plus do. This one is a shortened version of something different. 이라고 해도. What is 이라고 해도? You might know this if you've learned about quoting forms. 이라고 하다, or as you might know, 이라고 말하다. Hey, Renee, thank you. Getting a bunch of new members today. Apologies, Renee, you're not going to appear on the board, but I promise you're here. You're right here. You're below right here. Lorenzo, adding you as a new member. Thank you and welcome. I was positive I would lose like 20-30% of my members when I went to Korea, but I didn't. I was so happy. I was so surprised. I was so touched to see that by the time when I came home and I was checking, and it was like the same. You know, a couple people had left, a couple people had joined. Okay. Thank you. So, irado. So, this is also a shortened version of 이라고 말해도 or 이라고 해도. What that is even if you say 이라고, even if you say a quote of something, even if you say that it is a cactus, that's a cactus. But even if you say it's a cactus, even if you say that's a penguin, I'm not going to believe you. Or even if you say it's a penguin, literally is what it means. Even if you say. But that's not quite how it's used. Let me show you how this is actually, how this can translate. So literally it means even if someone says something, but the way you can think of it translating in English is assume. So even if you assume that A or whoever you're talking about is, now is comes from ida, is comes from ida, which is where this comes from. If you're not familiar with this form, please watch my live about quotation forms. This will make a lot more sense because we talk exactly about how ida becomes ida in that one. So even if you assume that A is something, it doesn't matter. So this implies literally. Literally, it just means even if you say something, but it implies that it doesn't matter. So this sort of meaning, it doesn't matter, isn't in the grammar originally, but that's how it gets used. So if you were to say this, something 이라고 해도, it's like even if you say that, it doesn't matter. That sort of meaning. Like it doesn't matter if you say that. Who cares if you say that? Or as The Rock says, it doesn't matter if you say that. Something like that. 이라도. It's got flashbacks of WWE. Okay, so even if you assume something, it doesn't matter. So let me give you an example sentence. It doesn't matter if you say that. Okay, I'm not going to finish this sentence. I want you to finish this sentence. Again, this is for intermediate learners. So if you're a beginner learner, don't feel like you have to do this yet. 인기가 많은 사람이라도. I want you to finish this sentence. And Celeste, thank you. Welcome, Celeste, our new member. I promise you your name is down here. Can't read it, but it's down here. It's right here. Thank you, Celeste. 5 dabs for the new member. Did I dab for Renee too? I think I did, but just in case. Okay. I knew people were falling asleep. Yeah. Every once in a while, I got to make sure, got to keep you on your toes. Because, you know, studying Korean can be, sometimes it moves slow. Some stuff is really exciting and fun, and other stuff's just, it's just boring. You just have to do it, but you got to do it so that you can speak better Korean. 이래도 would only mean even if you say. Jion asks, can you also say 이래도? 이래도 is different. 이래도 literally only means even if you say something. Whereas this comes from that, but it implies it doesn't matter. This is a different grammar form. So yes, they have the same origin. This one has a different usage though. Also, 이래도 can mean 이러다, like to do this. Like even if you do this, like you can say 이래도 돼? Like, can I be like, is it okay if I do this? Can I really be like this? That sort of meaning, which has a different usage. So 이래도 can be used by itself, not just as a form. So yeah, different usage. 아직 줄 서서 기다려야 돼요. Okay, even if you're popular, you still have to stand in line. 인기가 많은 사람이라도 that doesn't quite fit. Even if you're a famous person, you're not good. Wouldn't work. 인기가 많은, it's okay. It's you don't have to feel like you have to try this unless you're intermediate. So don't feel like you have to push yourself to try out something that's above your level. But yeah, feel free if you want to try it. Anyone out there watching? 인기가 많은 사람이라도 그 사건 때문에 욕을 많이 먹어요. No matter how famous, no matter, even if you're really popular, you get people like swear at you a lot because of that, what happened. Logically it makes sense, but it would sound a bit awkward because it doesn't flow. You're saying even if someone's popular, they get I'm not trying to think how I would translate that. A lot of criticism. You get a lot of criticism because of that thing that happened. But we don't know what the thing that happened is, and the tense also doesn't fit. You say you do get a lot of criticism, but like, is this a normal thing that happens? You might say you could get a lot of criticism because of something that might happen, but not just you do get a lot of criticism because of that thing. Like, we're not sure what that thing is or if it's normal to get criticism. So like what I'm saying is logically, although it kind of makes sense, I was saying grammatically, although it kind of makes sense, logically it doesn't really make sense. 인기가 많은 사람이라도 내야 되잖아요. You gotta pay. 내야, okay, but you might want to add in 돈, so it's clear you're talking about money without any other context. I was kind of curious what people are writing. 친구를 만들어야 돼요. Okay, no matter how popular you are, you have to make friends. Okay, let me give you an example. 인기가 많은 사람이라도, so even if you say that someone is very popular, 인기가 많다 means to have literally a lot of popularity. So even if someone's really popular, it implies it doesn't matter. Like, even if they're really popular, you still have to make friends, was someone's example. Okay. How about this? 인기가 많은 사람이라도 외롭다 means to be lonely. 외로울 수 있어요. 외로울 수 있어요. 인기가 많은 사람이라도 외로울 수 있어요. 인기가 많은 사람이라도, so even if you say that someone's popular, even someone who's popular can be 외로울 수 있어요. Can be lonely. So even popular people can be lonely is what it implies. So in that sort of sense, even if you're popular, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you're popular. You can still be lonely. So again, this implies something coming after is going to say that. Let me say that again. This implies that something coming after is going to say, like, it doesn't matter. Even if this, well, it doesn't matter because 외로울 수 있어요. You could be lonely even if you're popular. And that's true. You could be really popular, tons of fans, and deep down, you could truly be lonely. I don't know anyone like that, but it's possible. There could be someone like that. Okay, let's go to our next sentence. This is a really useful word to know. 유통기간. Did I write 유통기한? Hold on, let me check if I wrote that wrong in the file too, or if I just put it here. Oops. Yeah, I guess I could do that. This would be the shelf life. There's two words. I thought I just spelled it wrong, but no, I did write it correctly. Okay, 유통기한 would be shelf life. There's another similar word to 유통기간. 기간 would be like this expiration life or whatever. But anyway, shelf life. 유통기한이 지난. So 지나다 is to pass. So 물건. Actually, let me write this down here so I can. 이라도. Try to read this on your own. Okay. 유통기한이 지난 물건이라도 아직 괜찮을 수도 있어요. Take a second, try to read that on your own. See if that makes sense. It's midnight here and it's hot, Yasmin says. It is about a little past 3 p.m. here, and it's a little bit hot in this room because of my lights. But I mean, outside, the sun, it's quite bright, but it's not too hot today, I think, here. Michael P., it wouldn't be 착하다, it wouldn't be 착해, it would be 착할 수 있어요, if you want to say that. 착하다 would be the verb. Even if you're popular, you could be really friendly. Okay, it could work if you were to say 착하다, so 착할 수 있어요. Yes, good job, Small. 유통기한, so 유통기한, expiration date or the shelf life. 지나다, to pass. So even if it's past the shelf life, 물건 is an object, a thing. 이라도, so even if it's something. So let's just say, so even if you say that, even if you assume it's something that's past its shelf life, it doesn't matter. Why? Because 아직 괜찮을 수도 있어요. It could still, 아직, still, 괜찮다, to be okay. 괜찮을 수 있어요. It could be okay. 괜찮을 수도, it could even still be okay. Even if it's past the shelf life. So even if something's past the shelf life, it could still be okay. Or literally, even if you say that, even if you assume it's something that is past the shelf life, well, it doesn't matter because it could still 아직 be okay. 유통기한이 지난 물건이라도 아직 괜찮을 수도 있어요. So even if it's something past the shelf life, it could still be okay. Okay, so I hope that you could see, we're not done with the lesson. I hope that you could see how 이라도 has two different uses. The first usage was even as in like at least. Like it's not really what I wanted, but at least that, or something like that. And the other usage is even if you say that, so even something that's past the expiration date, well, it doesn't matter. So even if doesn't matter, that sort of meaning. So two different uses for the exact same particle. Now, if you were to translate both of these in your head as just even, in this situation, it would work. In some situations where it means, like at least, even could also work, right? Some sentences you'll find where even could work as the translation, even if it's the other one, even if it's the first one we did. But it's not good to think of it as just meaning even because you'll miss out on a lot of the extra feeling that it gives. For example, the first one we learned that can also have that feeling of, at least. And this one we learned has that feeling of like, even still, it doesn't matter. That sort of meaning. So yeah, keep in mind that they're two different uses, although they look the exact, and they work the exact same way. It's two different uses. Okay, we're not done though. Did anyone notice? Well, actually, you probably already noticed because I put it in the description of the video. There's something else. There's an elephant in the room we have to talk about. Because I told you that 이라도 can mean like even or at least or something, right? Well, can you think of another particle that can also mean or something in that sense? Like, you're picking something and maybe it doesn't matter so much. You're just saying, well, that or something like that or something. I did a previous live stream where we talked about the particle 이나. 이나 and 이라도 can both be used to mean or something. So then does that mean you can change sentences with 이나 or sentences with 이라도 for each other and have them make sense? There could be sentences where it works, but overall, no. That's good. Or whatever. Yeah, that's right. A lot of people writing in the chat. Is it Ina? Or is he talking about Ina? Yes. Small, you gave a good note there. You said, like, keep in mind you're a beginner. If you're a beginner, keep in mind you're a beginner. Learning these types of things takes time. I've been learning Korean for 16 years now. Actually, over 16 years. I officially started in 2005, although I had learned like a couple phrases, 2004. So started in 2005, studying hard, and it could take years before you feel like you're fluent. It's not a marathon. It's not a race. It's a marathon. You just keep going. You'll eventually get there, but it's going to take time. So expect that you need to spend a lot of time to do it. But also expect that if you put in the time, you will get the results. So two things you can expect, but don't give up just because something's like, oh, it's not clicking with me. You're not there yet. If you were to try to, like you said, if you were to decide, hey, I want to get really good at math, and you open up a calculus, like a top level calculus textbook, you're like, man, this is tough. I can't get any of this. Like, would you do that? You wouldn't do that to yourself. So don't do that to yourself with Korean either. If this is an intermediate topic and you open up an intermediate, you're learning an intermediate topic, but you're still a beginner and it doesn't make sense, of course it's not going to make sense. You should be opening something that's, more appropriate for your level. Maybe, challenge yourself a little bit, but don't worry if you can't get the higher level concepts right away. You have to work up to there. And if you decide, I'm just going to do it anyway, and you learn it, you're going to be missing all of those foundation concepts that could have got you there much more easily. And then later when you try to learn the next thing up, you're gonna miss all this other stuff you were supposed to know first when you get there. So yeah, don't beat yourself up if you're not quite at that level yet. It's normal to not be fluent at Korean yet before you've studied that long. And I wouldn't expect myself to speak fluent Korean after, a couple months of living in Korea. So you can't expect yourself to be intermediate if you haven't yet put in the time to become intermediate yet. So yeah. It doesn't mean you're less intelligent. It just means you haven't spent the time that someone else has already spent. And trust me, I know a lot of people who are lower intelligent people who've learned Korean just fine because they put in the work. It just takes a lot of time. So yeah, let yourself know like, hey, this is going to take a lot of time. Let's just do it. It'll be fine. It'll take lots of time, but I will get there. Okay. So yeah, although these can both mean with choices, ina does not show any preference. So that's one of the main differences. If you use ina to mean or something, that means you have no preference. You're saying or something, or I don't even care. Like, I should read a book or something. I'm going to read a book or something like that. I'm going to read a book or something. You don't mean you actually want to read a book. You're just like, I'll read a book or something or whatever. I don't care. Or maybe I won't even read a book. But if you say irado with book, you actually do want to read the book. You're saying like, or something like that. But I actually do kind of want to read the book. Even though it's not my top choice, I would still prefer that. Whereas ina has no preference at all in what you're saying. So if you only want one difference, that's it. That's the biggest difference between these two. But there's more. Ina is also restricted. It can only show something that you will choose. It cannot be used to show something, actually, or something you intend to choose. It cannot be used to show something that you chose. You can't use past tense when you're using ina to mean or something. When you're using ina to mean or something, it cannot be used with the past tense. It can't be used to say, I want to do something, or I have to do something, or I am doing something. It's only used to say you will, or you will. It's only used to say you will do something, or that you intend to do something. So it's only used with future, like from now, this, or something like that. I don't really care. I don't have a preference. Whereas this doesn't have those restrictions. You can say or something, but it implies you actually do kind of care. You actually do want to do that. Even though it's not your main choice, you still have a preference. So because of that, ina, you can only use it with like will, like future tense. So you might see it with the reo form, which shows intention, or maybe even the ga 생각하다. Like for example, 생각 중이다. Like you're thinking of doing something, or you're intending to do something, or future tense, you will do something, but that's it. So you don't really need to get these confused because although they can translate the same, they have completely different uses. So yeah, if you're wondering the difference between ina and irado, that's pretty much all there is to it. If you have a preference, use irado. If you have no preference and it doesn't, it works with these restrictions, then use ina. Okay, so yeah, preference, no preference. That's pretty much it. All right, and that is the whole lesson for today. I know we finished a little bit later than I expected, but now is time for questions. So thank you for sticking with this whole lesson. I know this is the first time I've done a lesson since being back from Korea. Hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully you got something good out of it. Even if you already knew this form, hopefully you learned something new you didn't already know. Now I'm going to do Q&A for about 15 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. And then I'll upload the outline. Oh yes, so if you are a Patreon member, make sure to get the outline today. It'll be uploaded as soon as the live stream's over, usually about 20-30 minutes after the live stream ends. You'll see the outline on Patreon. That's for all Patreon members. So if you want to join just at the $1 level, perfectly fine. It still supports me directly. All of that goes, the camera that you see that you're watching, I bought a new cord, I bought an adapter so I can put it on the computer so we have higher quality. All of this, the donations go directly to the live stream. I promise. I'm self-supportive, so I don't have like a staff or anything. It's all me. I just want to say thank you again for that. And make sure to check out our Discord. Let's post that here. There's also a link in the video description if you'd like to go directly there. But yeah, we have an active Discord. Check it out. Say hi. Say hi to everyone. There are lots of people there. Feel free to talk whenever you want. And yeah, now we'll do Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. It can be a question about this live stream or anything else. Let's just check here. Okay. Tanya, I took the King Sejong Institute level test. Even though it's just a small improvement, I leveled up from 1A to 1B. Nice. That's good. Improvement. Yeah. Measurable improvement is always nice. When you can like really say like, yeah, I've proven I've gotten a little bit better. It's not just my feeling, I actually have. I also improved my Korean during the last year and a half. I'd say, yeah, year and a half. I also saw some noticeable improvement with my own Korean as well. I'm also, of course, a learner too. I wasn't born in Korea, so I'm always learning. Korean Dream, the fact that Billy starts with beginning level content within one live should help beginners too. Just take the beginning level stuff today. Yeah, if you're just a beginner, don't worry about the stuff that I did at the second half of the lesson today, because we talked about using this with like adverbs and particles and verb endings, question words, and how it's different than ina and how it has a second usage. You don't really need to know that as a beginner. If you just know irado as like at least, that's good. You can make lots of sentences with saying at least this. Like if you're at the store and you don't have very much money and you wanted to buy like a giant BTS album, but they're all sold out. So you're looking at your friend, 이거라도 살까? Should I at least buy this small BTS album? You know, it's not the one I wanted, but at least it's good. I want it. Should I at least buy this? 이거라도 살까? I mean, that's a great beginning level sentence that sounds 100% natural. And your friend's like, wow, it sounds natural, you know? And you didn't have to learn any of the intermediate stuff to make that sentence. So the first form we learned, 이라도, as is, will be the most helpful to you. And that's really the most common one you're gonna see used, is just the very first basic one. 이라고 치다 is used for like, even if we assume that, like, let's just say that, but that doesn't assume that it doesn't matter. That doesn't imply that something doesn't matter. So you could say, something 이라고 쳐도, like even saying that something and something this, well, you could say something positive on top of that. 이라고 치면, you can also use 치다, 치면. Also, 치다 is more of a colloquial expression, so you're only going to see it used in speech. It's not really going to be used in like traditional writing and stuff like that. And I did a live stream about 치다, so 치고, 치고는, 치면, all of that stuff, a separate live stream. I think it was like a year or two ago. So yeah, if you want a lesson about something, I probably already done it. If you're wondering, oh, I wish Billy would do a lesson about, I've already done it. Check it out. It's in my live streams playlist. I've already done it. I promise you. If you have a good suggestion, join my Patreon, leave me a comment, and I will add it to the future voting options. But most things, common forms, I've already done live streams about, sometimes multiple live streams covering it. Okay. I found you through the Bangtan Academy. Nice. Welcome, Brienne. I can't pronounce your name, but you said, is there another place where I can get the books? Yes. Book Depository has my books as well. And the price is reasonable, and they do free shipping internationally. So they go to like almost every country, unless you live in a country that's like, dangerous to ship to or something like that. I think they even ship pretty much like everywhere in the world, almost everywhere in the world. They have free shipping. And yeah, I said the prices are pretty comparable to what you'd get on Amazon. Book Depository, it's where I always recommend people go if they don't want to buy from Amazon, or if they can't. History's asking, after learning Hangul, search on my channel. I have a video called After Learning Hangul. Would it exactly answer your question? Let's see. Cheska asked, how long did it take you to be fluent in Korean? I wouldn't say, see, there isn't really a definition of fluent, but there's no official definition. If you mean like, what a lot of people think of as fluency is like, oh, you're perfect, but that doesn't really ever happen with anyone. But if you think, when can you express most of what you want to say in mostly the way you want to say it? So like you could have full conversations and it wouldn't really inconvenience the person you're talking with, if we say that as fluency. About like a year and a half. It depends. It never really was one day I woke up and thought, hey, my Korean's fluent now. It's more of just like a level, and there's different types of fluency. So although after a year of studying Korean, living in Korea, I felt like I could have most conversations. I didn't think I could talk about like detailed politics with anyone because I didn't know much about, I didn't even know anything about it in general, or the Korean words for talking about that. But then later I've learned, additional grammatical, like grammar, technical words. I've learned how to talk about different topics, learning cooking vocabulary and stuff. So now I became more, years later, I became more fluent in that section. So it just depends, but it totally depends on how much you're studying and what you're using to study. Hey, Kenzie. Thank you, Kenzie. Your name is down here. I promise it's here, even though you can't see it. Thank you for the $5 donation. Let me give you 5 dabs and then I'll read your comment. I actually started speaking Korean because of you instead of just studying. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I needed that push. Yes. For anyone else wondering what they're talking about. Yes. Please make sure you're also speaking Korean. Just keep in mind, like, if you see me or someone else who's learned Korean and can speak Korean, we got this way by speaking Korean, not just sitting down and studying. Of course, we study a lot too, reading books and learning grammar and stuff. But most of it's going to come from, eventually, it's going to come mostly from using the language. So lots of listening and lots of speaking, lots of using those things you're learning so that you can solidify them. You're not going to magically wake up in one day, no matter how much you've been exposed to Korean, no matter how much you've studied. You're never going to just wake up one day and speak Korean better than you did the day before. That's not how it happens. You learn speaking by speaking. You get practice by doing it, and you make longer and longer sentences because you're not a native Korean speaker. Anyway, so how did you end up living in Korea at first? Like I said, it's a long story. I made a video on my channel about how learning Korean changed my life. But actually, it wasn't just I was interested in Korea. I was originally interested in Japanese too, so that's what I did first. And Korea I had more friends who were Korean. I ended up having more friends who were Korean than Japanese. And some of the Korean friends I met at college kind of inspired me to feel like, yeah, Korean is something I should do instead of, I just felt like I felt like the language worked really well. I liked it after moving from Japanese. And yeah, and I guess it's why do I keep going to Korea? After that would just be to keep up my Korean. Also, I ended up marrying a Korean, so there's a good reason for me to visit Korea often. I was just in Korea until 2 weeks ago. I came back, and I'm planning to go again later this year. I'm thinking November. Depending on how the restrictions are in November, I might be able to do another fan meeting. We'll see how it goes, but I wasn't able to do one this trip. Ivana says, do you have a video on how to make large complex numbers? Yes, I do. I have a few videos. I have a lesson in my Learn Korean playlist that covers numbers. And I also have 3 lessons in my, or I guess 2, lessons 61 and 62 in my beginner Korean course also cover how to do numbers in Sino-Korean and pure Korean. So check those out. They should help you to make large numbers. Because in Korean, since 1,001, about a little more than that, 1,100 equals $1, you're going to be using large numbers, even just for buying something at the supermarket. You could spend $100. Now you're already in 100,000, the number 100,000 territory. Shimman, 100,000. So just by going to the store, you've already entered 100,000. If you get a salary, you're going to get, 백만. So, you're going to be getting, so I'm not good at converting, 1 million. So million, at least from thousands of there, hopefully maybe 천만, tens of thousands of dollars. So like 10 million or like that. And then ok would be like $100,000. Anyway, you're going to do large numbers just for daily interactions. So yeah, you really need to know those. You're never going to be doing like, here is 5 cents, because that doesn't exist anymore. It's always going to be like 5,000, or maybe at least like 백원, like 100 for like something really tiny. Yeah. Okay. Book for learning Japanese. Governance asked, is there a book for learning Japanese? I can't tell you. The book I used was back from 2002. It's probably not used anymore, but I really liked it. It was called Ultimate Japanese. You can still buy it. I don't know if there's a better, I don't know if it's a good option though or not anymore, but I do remember it made a lot of sense and it was thick, like really thick, good. And I loved that book. In fact, I still kept it, whereas I threw away most of my other, like, older language books for this or that. I definitely kept that one. And it just moves very fast. So if you're trying to do that book, you need help with, you'll need assistance, someone to help you through the book because it does move very fast. Okay. David Myung. I'm just looking to see the first comment that catches my eye. David Myung says, I feel like I'm at a level where I can understand a lot of Korean. That's good. And I feel somewhat comfortable in Korean. But when I watch Korean material, what is your best take in getting the most value? Not doing passive, what I call, or other language teachers also call passive listening, is not what's going to get you to any sort of level. Passive listening is you just have something on in the background while you're doing something else. So like you turn on the Korean TV and you're watching it, but you're reading subtitles, right? So the Korean is there, but you're not paying attention to it. That's passive listening. No amount in the world of passive listening is going to teach you a language. Especially with Korean, I'll say. I can't speak for Spanish, If you watch tons of, Telemundo, maybe you're going to learn some Spanish words. With Korean, it really doesn't happen that much. It's very minuscule, the amount of Korean you're going to learn that way. Maybe things like, 안 돼, but then you're not going to understand the politeness level. You're not going to understand the situation for it. What you want is active, which is when you're listening to something and actively paying attention to it and trying to understand it on your own. And that happens without subtitles, or maybe Korean subtitles could work, but not English. So you're forced to actually listen. So if you turn on the TV or you're watching a YouTube video and it's not in English, so you're forced to listen to it. That is good. That will help you pick up phrases and pick up words. And when you're listening to sentences, you'll hear words that you're studying used in real context. And then you're like, oh, I feel like I got it. Of course, you'll have to use it yourself or else it's going to disappear from your memory. If you're not using it, your brain will think it's useless and won't hold on to it. But if you hear it, you're like, oh, that's good. And you try to use it yourself. There you go. That's good practice. So what you want is more active materials. Making your own sentences is active. Practicing speaking is active. Listening intently, trying to understand what you're watching is active. Those sorts of things are what's going to help your Korean, not passive. So try to avoid that. If you feel like, oh, I just don't get a lot of it, try to reevaluate what you're doing. Are you really doing active learning or are you comparing it with like passive learning? Because if I sit down, I can passively listen to a lot of Korean now, but because I've spent so much time doing it actively first, that now I can kind of do it passively. While I'm studying or while I'm doing work, I can listen to a video in Korean and still follow along with what's going on without having to listen intently. But that's not going to work unless you first do tons of active work to get there. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see if anything else. I like to watch Worker Man without subtitles. Is that a drama? I don't know. Alexander says, is it possible to acquire a native accent in Korean? They'll always know. Some people won't be able to tell. Like over the telephone, it's harder to tell. If you don't assume the person you're speaking with isn't a native speaker, then you just kind of accept it. Maybe they're sick, or maybe they have just an interesting voice. You wouldn't think someone's not a native until they tell you something that gives it away. So if you're just talking over the phone, there's a good chance you can learn Korean to a level where they wouldn't know that you're not a native. I know lots of people could do that. I did that when I worked at a call center. People wouldn't say, oh, your Korean is so good, because they didn't think I wasn't a Korean. I wasn't talking enough. I wasn't talking in long enough sentences or for a long enough time that they would ever notice. It's just basic things. But if you're meeting someone, they immediately can see I'm not Korean. So they'll notice right away. You can have very close to native pronunciation. I think my pronunciation is actually very good, especially when I'm not nervous. If I'm talking with someone and I feel nervous, then I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. But for general conversations, I do think that when I'm speaking nice and slowly and clearly, I have a very good pronunciation, very good intonation. People will tell you that. But it's not native, because I'm not a native. You can't have native level anything unless you are a native by definition. If you were born in the country or you're there, from childhood and you grew up in that situation, then yeah, you can have native level of whatever language that is. You can have multiple languages, near native or good enough that no one would ever know. But that you're not going to have that by studying a language. So don't make that a goal. It can't happen. You don't need to worry about it though. You just need to have good Korean. Can people understand you? Yes, that's good. That's very good. Can you say what you want to say? That's amazing. Yes. Do you sound like a native? No, you can't because you're not a native. If you want to be a native, you have to take up, the reincarnation and pray a lot and hope that you get born in a Korean in your next life, right? You have to be very religious if you want to become native in Korean. So yeah, give up that goal. Instead, a more realistic, less demotivating goal is to get good at Korean. Noah Deeps. Billy, have you ever thought about making podcast lessons? Podcasts would be something that would be fun to do if I had a lot of free time, but I don't. And I don't know if I'd have a big audience for it. So probably not, at least for the time being. But I won't say never. It would be kind of fun just to do podcast. Get some guests on, talk about different Korean grammar. That could be kind of fun. Okay. I'll read a few more of your comments and then I'm going to take off for today and start editing this live stream. Verona says, I'm watching Devil Judge. Okay, it's a great show, but it's hard as learning material. Yes, legal terms are going to be difficult. So if you're watching like a historical drama and you're trying to learn Korean from it, forget about it. Don't try to do that. Yeah, that's not going to be the best way to learn unless you're already at that level where the only thing you need to learn is those legal terms. But you understand everything else, then that's fine. Yeah, watch it. You'll learn a lot. And that just like a regular Korean would do the same thing. If you watch, I remember I used to watch the show Suits, and they'd use tons of legal terminology. Like I wouldn't know it, but after watching the show, you kind of pick it up. Or if you watch House, you'll learn like lots of words too, like intubate, which they use like 10 times in every episode. Like that kind of stuff. It's fine if you know everything else except those terms, then it's suitable for you. But if you don't know Korean well enough and you're watching that, it's not going to be a good use of your time. It's not going to be that sort of active listening that you want. So yeah. La Crisita, do you recommend reading in Korean even if I don't understand what I read? No. If you're not trying to understand it, then no. If you're just reading it for the purpose of just reading it, then no. If you're reading it for the purpose of studying, so you stop and look up words as you come across them, you try to figure out grammar forms, you try to understand the sentences, then yeah, that's great. Most people don't do that though. They kind of pick up a book and they read through it. They just read it. Maybe it's a book they already know in English and they just kind of read through it and you don't learn anything from that. You learn maybe a couple vocabulary words that you already knew, this is how they say philosopher's stone in Korean, like that sort of thing. But not really much other than that. So I would say if you're using it for studying, that's fine. That's good. If you're just using it for reading practice, it's not going to make you faster at reading Hangul because you have to understand the words to get faster at them. You have to already know what the sentence is going to say before it even completes in order to get faster at reading. So you have to be able to look at a word and you're like, I know what that word is, before you have to look at the letters that are in those syllables. Okay, one more question and then we'll stop for today. Okay. I'd listen if you had a podcast. Thank you, that's nice. I listen to your videos all the time. Thank you for everything you do and for sharing your knowledge. Okay, anyway, I think that's good for today. Thank you everyone for coming. I don't want to bore you. So again, let me say one more thanks to everyone who's joined today. I feel welcome back. I feel welcome back. That's a little bit awkward. I feel welcome to be back and welcome back to the live streams. We'll have another one on Sunday. Make sure to catch the vote. It'll go up tomorrow. Same time as it did last week. So vote on that. There are going to be 2 options left, in intermediate and in advanced. I wonder which one's going to win, but who knows? Again, thank you to today's supporters. Cheryl, Nat, Amanda, Kate, Brendan, Mary, Carrie, Hammy, Charlotte, Zosi, I can't pronounce your name, it starts with a Z, Sophia, Deidre, Tanya, Imaginary, Alex, Shabunim, Hope, Lorenzo, Renee, Celeste, and Kenzie. Thank you all, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.